Hey there, welcome back to Logical Republican. Thank you for stopping by again. And just a quick reminder, if you like what you see, like what you hear, hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you didn't already notice, today is Ugly Golf Shirt Day. And just kind of wearing the ugliest shirt I had in my closet. So thank you. Topic for today is Elon Musk. It's about having a man crush on Elon Musk. Just when you say the name Elon Musk, it gets a reaction. Positive, negative, smile, cringe. I love the guy. He says what's on his mind. Sometimes that's not always the best thing to do, but that's who he is. He's usually the smartest guy in the room, and he's not afraid to show it. And unlike the smart guy syndrome in most companies, where it's usually some Princeton or similar school prick that needs to prove he's worth his paycheck or justify his place in the room, Elon is decades and billions of dollars past all of that. Now think about this for a second. Now, I don't know what you know about Elon Musk or what you think about Elon Musk, but Elon Musk outbanked the banks. He's outcarred Detroit, and he's outspaceshipped NASA. Okay? Let's take a bite out of this and go back to the 1990s. When PayPal and their rival, a company called X.com, which is not Twitter, but the original X.com, Elon started, he's owned the domain X.com for decades. They were all in the same University Avenue building in Palo Alto. And they were toiling away until they merged into what we now know as PayPal. Okay, I think you're all familiar with PayPal. It's somewhat ubiquitous. PayPal was the first peer-to-peer payment platform to gain global acceptance, where I can send my buddy or I can send you $10 to cover lunch electronically. No paper checks, no nothing. I don't have $10 in my wallet, but I can PayPal it to you, right? So, now it's Venmo, but guess what? PayPal owns Venmo. And boy, the banks were pissed. And then they aligned with PayPal so buyers could collect funds instantly rather than waiting for the paper check in the mail. And now the banks are really pissed, and, so was the U.S. Postal Service because, I don't have to mail a check anymore. And it's all done through PayPal. Well, then PayPal goes public, and they make millionaires, and they create the so-called PayPal Mafia, who went on to found companies that you might be familiar with, like LinkedIn and Palantir and YouTube, hello, and Yelp, and a company that shared a building in San Francisco with Twitter that was acquired for over $1 billion by Microsoft that you probably haven't heard of, called Yammer. Anyways, then he helps fund a couple of guys without much business sense, yet with a great idea for an electric car, and eventually took control of the company. Okay, so a little sidebar here. You might want to check out the documentary. It's called The Electric Car, and it takes you through the whole process of the two tree-hugging engineers who built a pretty cool sports car, but just business sense, just pretty much close to a zero. Anyways, the industry, again, watching the documentary, the industry pretty much laughed at the idea of the EV becoming anything more than a novelty item, right? How the heck are you going to make an electric vehicle? How are you going to make it sustainable? How are you going to scale it? Well, he did. Then, Elon is not a rocket scientist, but then he started a company called SpaceX that makes rockets. He makes rockets better and cheaper than NASA. Think about that. How many, I don't know, probably trillions and trillions of our tax dollars have gone into NASA. And yes, there's a template and there was a starting point and he's added on to it. But how is it even possible that some guy who's not a rocket scientist can create a rocket company that NASA actually contracts to? Because SpaceX can do things better, faster, and cheaper than NASA. Who would have thunk, right? If I was a taxpayer, I'd be pretty pissed. But wait a second, I am a taxpayer. And how much of my money goes to NASA? I have no idea. But let's really dive into why I have a man crush on Elon, beside the fact that he's outmaneuvered three of the largest industries on planet Earth. Again, that's automotive, banking, and rocket ships. We know Tesla, right? It's synonymous with the electric car. Okay, sure, there's Chinese competitors, whatever. And sure, Detroit dabbles poorly in the EV market, and China is thriving with technology that they've probably liberated from Tesla itself. Names like, I don't know, Fisker and Rivian and Lucid may also ring a bell, a faint bell. I think Fisker is going to, for the second time, go belly up. Remember, they made a really cool car, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago that was a hybrid that had a Honda Civic engine in it and was kind of useless other than looking really cool. But here's where it got me. You see, car companies advertise. They spend billions and billions of dollars on billboards and mailers and television commercials. They advertise in the Super Bowl. They advertise in magazines, online, banner ads. Anywhere else one could fathom advertising dollars being spent, there are car commercials and car ads and car spots. Yet until recently, Tesla resisted spending a single frickin' dollar with the newspapers, the magazines, the television networks, or Google. Okay, think about that. Nothing. The biggest selling car on planet Earth, the Model Y, and nothing spent. Oh boy, they were pissed off. All of the mediums in advertising, pissed off. And they've been pissed off, and they will be pissed off as I write this, and they hold grudges. And they have a grudge, and they show that grudge in glaring headlines every time Elon Musk says something a little bit off color, or every time Tesla misses a number, or every time there's a recall. Nobody cares when Ford has a recall or Hyundai has a recall. But if Tesla has a recall, oh, it's the demise of the electric car. Never mind, all car companies have recalls. Yes, they do. Okay, now, back in 2014, there was a 60 Minutes story on the EV. And at the end of it, it was not really a hit piece on him, but it was kinda. And then at the end, 60 Minutes adds a vroom, like the car accelerating. Oops, guess what? EVs don't make any noise. So they actually had to go, oops, my bad. But again, nobody really jumped on it, right? Or a year earlier in 2013, the New York Times did write a hit piece on how the Model S, in the now infamous picture that was posted in the New York Times and loaded all over the internet, of a car getting pushed up onto or dragged up onto a flatbed truck after running out of juice, right? It was the Model S. And the New York Times writer, some guy named John Broder, wrote glowingly about the technology. Oh, it's amazing. And how he followed all of the guidelines, right? He did this and he did that. Letters to the T. Yet he wasn't able to reach his destination. I think it was New York to Boston. Ran out of juice, he said. Oh, stuck. Dead in the water. Oh, this Tesla thing is unreliable. By the way, did I mention that he's the automotive writer for the New York Times? Well, Tesla challenged his story, and he said, nope, I'm good. It's all factual. And then, like an old episode of Perry Mason, here comes a good old Raymond Burr, right on up to the witness stand. And here comes the gotcha. Elon Musk and Tesla, they are not stupid. They had a form of GPS software in that car, and they knew exactly where, when, and how far, and how fast that car went. Okay? He didn't know this, right? Of course, if he knew this, he probably either A, wouldn't have done the story, or B, wouldn't have, gone off and BS'd in it. But he literally drove the car in circles in a parking lot to drain the battery. Now, did the New York Times retract the story and fire this journalist? Nah, they're the New York Times. But story after story on how Elon is an ass. And maybe he really is in real life. I mean, he could be, and probably deservedly so. But, they write on how Tesla is a horrible place to work because Elon is anti-union. Oh, how the Fremont, California plant is racist. Never mind that most of the workers there happen to be brown and black, right? And never mind that the plant in Fremont, California that he took over used to be the NUMMI plant, which was the GM / Toyota thing. And they shuttered it, and all of those union workers, I don't know how many thousands of them, got whacked. And then he comes back in and hires a bunch of them back at better pay, but it's not union. Okay. So anyway, California politicians started this anti-Elon campaign for various reasons, mostly because the United Auto Workers Union wanted to herd sheep, and he didn't really care for the idea. He doesn't like the UAW. The pandemic was another issue as Sacramento leadership and all of the other cities and counties shut down, and he got into a war of words with a few elected officials. So while this was all going on, Florida and Texas, two of the states that don't have a state income tax and were relatively open to its citizens living a fairly normal life during the lockdown, Elon threatened to pack up and move because he couldn't build cars because his workers couldn't come to work because the state had shut him down. Well, enter this woman named Lorena Gonzalez. Who? Who's Lorena Gonzalez? Well, she had her 15 minutes of fame when she tweeted, F Elon Musk. This was on May 10th, 2020. Now, I had not heard of Lorena Gonzalez before. I have not heard of her since. But, stating, and I quote, California has highly subsidized a company that has always disregarded worker safety and well-being, has engaged in union busting, and bullies public servants. I probably could have expressed my frustration in a less aggressive way. Of course, no one would have cared if I tweeted that. Worker safety and union busting, she said. Right. You know who she works for now? Since she's no longer an elected official, she works for basically a union. So, hello, Texas. Yep. If they aren't union jobs, it's better to have less jobs, apparently, because, if you're not going to be a UAW guy, then get the F out of California is essentially what Lorena Gonzalez and a bunch of other people wanted them to do. So anyways, they upped and moved their headquarters from Fremont to Austin, Texas. And now Gonzalez, again, back to her roots as a union leader. And apparently the paycheck skimming from union dues is better than the taxpayer dime, right? So because she's not collecting a public check, right? And how else would she get paid if she's working for a union other than union dues? So, yeah, okay. Anyways, now on to Twitter. So Elon liquidated a whole big bunch of Tesla stock to help finance the purchase of Twitter and take the company private. So a bit of disclosure here. I was in the Twitter building on average of about 3 times per month for several years. So I know firsthand what was going on in the Twitter building. I worked with various members of their leadership team, and from the small offices that they used to have on Folsom Street to the secured floors on Market Street, I saw all the growth firsthand. Now keep in mind, right, so Twitter was part of Mayor Ed Lee's revitalization of the mid-market area, and they did a decent job of that, and they helped populate a building on 10th and Market that had been vacant for 30 years. That's right, 30 years. Why? Why was it vacant for 30 years? Because it is in the absolute armpit of San Francisco, and nobody wanted to go there. But anyways, they moved in, and so along the way, Twitter got bloated. So they were a company loaded with hipster bros wearing their skinny jeans and their retro sneakers and shirts a half a size at least too small, just so they could kind of look like, hipster bros. And everyone was scurrying to their next meeting with their laptop tucked securely under their arm, and meetings to have other meetings. And I was in many of these meetings in the main boardroom, 30 chairs wrapped around a lacquered, split in half log. And it was just like hipster bros who were validating their place in the building. And Twitter became just like this like-minded company of liberal dweebs, right? Think against me and you're out of here. And these are the type of liberal dweebs that would like cross the street to avoid the mid-market locals and step over or around a homeless encampment or somebody asking for $1 because, you know, they had to rush to get on their luxury shuttle to get them back to wherever the hell they were going and get out of that armpit of an intersection. A bunch of entitled schmucks who thought they had something to do with the success or growth of the company, which completely false. They were just basically dead weight. Again, hipster bros over-validating themselves. They had nothing to do with the growth of Twitter. And then, well, that all came crashing down when Elon came in. He whacked the majority of these bozos, cleaned out the executive suite, required staff to actually come to work. What a concept, having to go to the office and work instead of sitting there with your puppy on your lap while you sit on a chair in your underwear. Oh my God. So Twitter has been accused of suppressing information and promoting liberal ideology during the 2020 election cycle, going so far as suspending the New York Post's account for talking about the Hunter Biden laptop. And guess what? The Hunter Biden laptop is true. And the New York Post kind of got vindicated. Anyways, I'll cover all that later, but we're talking about this. And anyways, and when Elon started covering all the lies and the cover-ups, the media fought back because, you know, heaven forbid he, you know, shares the truth of what actually went on, right? So hate speech, that became the buzzword for what Twitter now represented according to the press. And all of the liberals jumped on it. Oh, hate speech is on the rise at Twitter, even though he did a really good job of weeding out all of the bots and all of the other crap, but they had to jump onto that. So the BBC, right? I don't know much about the BBC. I always thought the BBC was like legit. So they sent a reporter to interview Elon Musk, and it was a classic episode of bringing a knife to a gunfight. You have to look this up on YouTube or someplace else. And so, you know, what exactly is hate speech? But going back to the whole thing, right? This guy, he picks a fight with Elon, and he makes a statement of, well, you know, hate speech has been on the increase on Twitter. And he said, show me. Do you have anything? And the guy was like, what a frickin' idiot. Anyways, so what exactly is hate speech? I mean, you know, maybe we know it when we see it, but I mean, it's very subjective. Let's just put it that way. But again, you're right. I mean, hate speech has no place, in my opinion, on social media, and it should be taken down. And I think Twitter has done a really good job of wiping out the bots and wiping out all the fake accounts. And now if only Facebook would do the same. Now, anyways, getting back to all this, right? He whacked most of the staff, and Twitter is still humming along. And other than probably losing a bunch of advertising because, you know, he says a few things that the liberals don't like, and they threaten boycotting, you know, whatever brand. But it'll bounce back, and we'll see where it all goes. But anyways, back to my whole man crush on Elon Musk. Would I want to hang out with Elon and have a beer with the guy, watch a game? Yeah, I think that would be a heck of a lot of fun. Would I want to work for him or work with him? Probably not. I mean, I'm guessing, a nightmare boss. He's probably a dick to work for. But then again, so were Steve Jobs. I heard horror stories about Steve Jobs, and even worse about Bill Gates. So everybody loves Bill Gates now. But guess what? Bill Gates during his time was one of the biggest a-holes on planet Earth. Or Larry Ellison or Donald Trump or any of these other, you know, megalomaniacs or whatever you'd want to call them. But anyways, that's my whole thing on Elon, and why I've got a man crush on Elon is the guy is a freaking badass. And if you agree or disagree, write a comment. If you like what you see, like what you hear, hit the like button and hit subscribe. And I will hopefully see you tomorrow. See ya.